You know, I haven't really looked at church records and school records yet. But, you know, churches were very important to many of the former slaves. So, you know, I expected when I found wedding notices in the paper, it says who married them. And I expected to find, you know, maybe a consistent, either a consistent name or a consistent church. And I didn't. So you know, I said, well, that can wait for a while. I was hoping for, you know, a nice, easy answer, but yes, I haven't looked at that yet. But you know, that's part of why I said the whole Free Will Baptists and Bates, you know, started by Free Will Baptists, is very important, probably to the comfort level of the people who came here. Yes.
I found it strange that none of them worked in the Bates Mills, or I mean the mills. There's a warm climate. I mean warm inside. I found it kind of strange.
Yeah, it's probably for a lot of reasons, and you know, in a lot, you know, I don't know exactly what it was like here, but in a lot of places, if an ethnic group got a toehold someplace, then whoever came after them couldn't. So I suspect, first of all, there weren't very many, you know, of them, but still, I suspect that they weren't particularly welcome and they were steered in other directions. But I don't know that for sure. I mean, I'm wondering the same thing. Yes.
I think their expertise was in serving. You know, I mean, they had expertise in serving people, and they would be in households. And
well, they may have or they may not have, but that's what people thought their expertise was.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what they did on their wherever they, you know, were slaves. Let me go back here first.
This isn't about Lewiston, but would you know whether the Freedmans were responsible for bringing the group up that settled by Small Point on an island?
Malaga?
Yeah.
No, but I don't think so. I don't think they're really related to this, you know, exact time period of coming here, and for a lot of reasons. But I don't think Malaga is related to this story.
Well, concerning industrial employment, that was all across the country, really.
Yeah.
That you know, blacks found it difficult, well, almost impossible to get employment in factories.
Right.
And I think the breakthrough, it was only a modest breakthrough, it was during World War I, you know, when there was a manpower shortage. And that didn't last very long.
Then they paid for it after the war.
Yes, and then they paid for it after the war.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, you know, too, the people who brought them here, like I said, they had employment contracts of some sort, which I've seen for a lot of people going to the South. I haven't actually seen them for the North, but I suspect there was some kind of an agreement. You know, you had to pay people, because some of the requests that I've seen from people in Maine to the Freedmen's Bureau said, you know, we'll pay this amount of money a week. And so you had to agree to pay a certain amount and stuff. But anyway, that aside, I think the people who brought them here weren't the mill owners. And the mill owners wouldn't have requested former slaves because they didn't have any trouble getting help. It was household help, farm help, you know, outside, you know, somebody else did it.
I'm surprised though, you just said something, because they brought the Irish and the French in. Now you got these people, you know,
right
after the war.
Right. Well, they had the Irish and the French. They didn't need
the French probably weren't here, but I mean all these people looking, you know, be available for work.
Yeah. Yes.
Did you notice any commonality in the contracts as though they were a bureaucratic construct as opposed to something created fresh for each arrangement?
They were pretty much bureaucratic.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, there, like I said before, there were certain requirements, and the Freedmen's Bureau, well, you know, the Freedmen's Bureau was sort of running Reconstruction. I mean, the Army, it was all, you know, generals, captains, whatever, who were in charge of different parts of the Freedmen's Bureau. So, you know, it was partly to make sure that nothing horrible happened, which they were slightly successful at in some places, but also they had a real interest in making sure that the former slaves got educated. And so that's, I think, why that went into contracts. And I don't know if there was I haven't seen any evidence in the newspapers I've looked at of an actual Freedmen's Aid Society in Lewiston, Auburn, but some of the churches may have gotten involved and stuff. But I know Portland had a Freedmen's Aid Society that may have grown out of an abolition group, and they were actually hiring teachers in Maine and paying them to go to freedmen's schools in the South. That's sort of getting off your question, but they had interest in certain things. They wanted to make sure people were getting salaries, that they were getting, you know, fair amount, and that they were protected to some extent. I mean, that fell apart, of course, but so it was pretty bureaucratic. And there was a lot of criticism of this employment bureau kind of thing, that you know, it wasn't any more free labor than the slave system had been, because you know, it wasn't like the former slaves would go and, well, they couldn't read, but see a list of jobs posted and say, oh, I'd like to go there. You know, the employment agents, my sense is that they had really good intentions, and they tried to match people with places that they thought they would succeed. You know, they didn't want to send somebody someplace that it was going to be a real problem, but they would sign people up. You know, often they got huge numbers of requests, and they would sign people up to go someplace, and then you see in the records there were, you know, a bunch of people slated to go to Brunswick, Maine, and this was an actual one, like 8 women or something. I thought, oh, it must have been a hotel owner asking for them. So I was about to go look up who this person was when I saw the next line, which said, refuse transport. So either the people didn't show up on the day that they were supposed to get transported, or they had a better offer, or they got cold feet, which, you know, as I said before, the climate, you know, the people, you know, whatever your circumstances were, you knew how to survive there. You didn't know what was going to happen when you got to a strange place, unless you'd heard from soldiers, oh, this is a nice place and you'll like it here. Yes.
I'm just amazed. You've got 3 million people that have no education, no work experience. The government wants them to be self-supporting within a reasonable length of time. It was an amazing accomplishment, really.
It was pretty amazing.
Well,
I mean,
the slaves had plenty of work experience.
They had.
They did a lot of work.
Yes.
Have you had a chance to see what were the interests of people like Garcelon? Were they trying to do good, or just looking for the labor, or some of both?
It's a really good question. And I think some of both. I mean, I do think, you know, a lot of it had to do with this shortage of farm labor and household labor. But you know, if you look at this doesn't answer the Garcelon question, but you know, Oliver Otis Howard was maybe an idealist, maybe overly optimistic. You know, when he brought George Washington Camp to work on his mother's farm, he wanted Camp to inherit the farm. And he, and his brother Charles, and probably Roland too, were involved in setting up a deal so that Camp could, because the mother, you know, really couldn't stay on the farm by herself at that point. And she was probably 60 or something, worse. And, but anyway, they wanted him to inherit it and then, you know, as he worked, sort of pay part of it, but, you know, essentially they were giving it to him. And so, you know, when you look at, it didn't happen because his mother put her foot down, but no way. But I think Charles and Otis helped the Camps buy another farm and lease. But, you know, his sort of naive idealism, I think genuinely was he wanted to help people. And, you know, I've read a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of letters that he and Lizzie wrote to each other. And, you know, she was reluctant to get the former slaves he sent because it complicated her life and for a lot of other reasons. And, you know, he kept saying, oh, they're great people and they're, you know, whatever. So, you know, I think it's mixed, and I think it depends on who was doing the asking. And, you know, I think the situations that probably worked out the best were the ones that were people who were genuinely trying to help as opposed to people who just needed labor. And I think, you know, or people who, you know, where there's one person sent to Litchfield, Maine. You can imagine why that person didn't stay.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm sure we can continue with the conversation informally.
Yeah, and can I just say one more thing? If anybody finds anything that you think would be helpful, the Historical Society can tell you how to find me. But, you know, I'm interested in anything that turns up. Photographs?
Margaret Nichols.
And I do have the books, and if you would like them, I think I'll stay down front in order that people may.
I know there,
Lives at,
Hey, you be careful there, Don.
Yeah.
one chick there.
yeah,
You mentioned that law died in 1874, yeah, praised for him as a professor. Yeah, well, that was the year, 1874. Right away.